Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Kid Rock, and today we're going to be finishing the final two rooms on a level 9 hoard. Now there's some confusion about stages of hoarding versus levels of hoarding. There are 5 stages of hoarding, just like there are stages of alcoholism. And then there are 9 levels of the actual hoard, just like there are levels to the severity of alcoholism. This is a level 9 in that rooms were inaccessible. There were things in these rooms that were packed from wall to wall, and the room you're going to see me cleaning first has actually been half emptied since I've been here last. They've actually been going through these rooms and working on getting the door open. When I first came here, we couldn't open the door more than about 8 inches. And whenever I came back, we could at least open up the door halfway. So they had made some progress on their own. If you haven't seen the first couple parts of this, it's going to be in a playlist called Level 9 Hoarder House, because that's just how creative I am with titles, son. So suck it. A quick recap. Both husband and wife are disabled. There are extreme mobility issues, diabetes, the hoarding disorder itself, tons and tons of loss in this family. Heartbreaking loss. But the one difference between this and all the other hoarder houses that I've cleaned is this is the only one in which the people are actually doing things on their own. So whenever I left, they were still sorting through tubs, still cleaning things up, still throwing things away, and making legitimate progress on the house. I am extremely proud of them for that. It is so rare for someone to continue cleaning while I'm not there. And even while I was there, they were going through tubs and sorting out what needed to be thrown away versus what needed to be kept. Now, that being said, we are nowhere close to being done with this house, but I have to move on after this week. I've spent 6 days there helping out. So far, we've done the kitchen in its entirety, the living room, and now we're doing these 2 spare bedrooms that one of them is a storage room and the other one is a computer room. But until I started in, you couldn't even walk into the rooms, so they had no purpose. They were just storing the hoard. Even after what you're about to see here, the rooms are still extremely hoarded. I mean, even after you see how full the dumpster is at the end of this video, the rooms were still pretty much unusable because of all the things that they had to keep. Now, as they get better and better, if they continue working on this hoard, they could make these rooms accessible again and give them a purpose. But we did make an extraordinary amount of progress. If I had one piece of advice to give this couple after I've left, it would be this. Once per week, no matter what, get a big 40-gallon contractor garbage bag and completely fill that with things that you can throw away. Even if those things are good, even if they still work, even if it hurts knowing they're not going to someone else to use, throw them away. And this may sound really weird, but whenever you put it out with your trash, tell it, this is my home. I know it sounds goofy, but if you can get into that mind frame of this is my house, it's occupied by me and not you, not the stuff, you can start to take back your house. You can kind of mentally and psychologically train yourself to have control over what goes into and out of your home, what lives there. I think it would be helpful if you could train your mind to view the stuff and the hoard as an unwanted guest in your domain. And if you can muster up the energy, instead of placing it in the trash, throw it in the air and then do a roundhouse spin kick in the air and spin kick it into your trash so that you got a little bit of extra aggression to really let it know you don't belong here, I do. Sucker. Now, there are some important things to note about this house. This is what I would call level 1 cleaning, where the majority of the work, especially in this video, is nothing but getting rid of the clutter and restacking the stuff that they're going to keep and then vacuuming the floors. There was no dusting, no cleaning, no polishing, no wiping anything down, because all of my energy was devoted to nothing but pack muling this stuff in and out of the house. Now, we did do the kitchen in its entirety, and we did most of the living room and a few end stands here and there, but there's still a massive amount of work to be done in this house. And if I had more time, I would continue going back here until it was entirely done. But they're doing so good with the cleanup when I'm not there that I have faith that they'll actually be able to clean this up and make it livable, because there's a lot of things like bookshelves that have a massive amount of dust on them. Ari Katarina would love it, just being able to wipe things down and make them look like new again. There are end tables that need to be, like, their drawers need to be taken out, and all the extra random knickknacks and paddywhacks need to be thrown away or stored in a different way. The walls still have cobwebs on them. The windows all need cleaned. There's so much stuff like regular housekeeping that needs to be done. But the most important part is making sure that they can walk safely through their house without tripping or having a fire, and being able to exist in this house without it being a danger. I mentioned this in the last video, and I will continue to mention it in other videos because it's really important. For those of you who aren't educated on what hoarding disorder is, your natural reaction would be, well, I would just throw all this stuff away. The problem with that is that this is a mental illness, a standalone mental illness, and there are basically wires crossed that attach emotional value to things even if they have no actual real world value. The emotional attachment to those things can get so harsh and so strong that it's on par with throwing out your pet or one of your kids. This needs treatment. It can't be cured, but it can be treated and managed. But it's extremely difficult to do that without therapy. So I always mention that telling someone to just throw all their stuff away when they have this disorder is on par with telling them to cure their depression by smiling more, or to cure their broken leg by running. It's way more complex than that. The other thing is that there are a lot of important things in this house that aren't stuff related. So for instance, we found a car title. I found a wedding photo for 1912 just laying among random papers. So if I were to just start scooping up all the stuff that looked like garbage and just toss it in a bag, those things would have been gone forever. So I'm very careful about how I sort and what I sort, and I'm very careful about what I throw away and what I keep. I go through everything one at a time. You could do it like the show Hoarders and go in there with a shovel and just start taking armloads of stuff out, but a lot of what we're dealing with here is not garbage. That's the hardest part of managing a hoard like this, or managing the hoarding disorder, because there are so many things that are useful and you're not really sure what they're attached to and what they're not, and so they need to be a part of the process. And I'm really glad that they were a part of this process and continue to be a part of it, because them operating as a team and doing things on their own is mental training. That's what they would have them doing in therapy, is going through this and getting rid of one bag per week and training themselves to say, okay, I truly don't need this stuff. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. A question I get a lot is how much time does this actually take? I spent 2 days on the kitchen with help. I spent 2 days on the living room without help. I spent 1 full day doing nothing but decluttering just this room, and then 1 full day decluttering the computer room, which you'll see in this video. The computer room was actually as hoarded, if not more hoarded than this room. This room was a lot of large items. The computer room was a lot of small items, so the hoard was more tightly packed. Now, if this was my house and I had carte blanche to do whatever I wanted with this stuff, I would have just started doing like a breakdancing windmill as soon as I got floor to be bared, and I just would have windmill spin kicked sort of this stuff as I'm doing my little backspin until it all just shot out of the room. Now, the danger in doing that is a lot of the things can embed into walls, and then you've got to worry about putting up new drywall and all that. But if you're wanting a quick way to clean the room, the breakdance spin kick would be the easiest and the fastest. But in this case, I didn't want to damage their stuff or the house, so I just picked it up like normal. So shut up. Now, the other rooms had problems with bed bugs, which I wore a Tyvek suit whenever I was cleaning that particular room. And there was a lot of like dirt and mouse poop, mouse pee, and mouse poison all over the floors. This room had been hoarded for so long that there wasn't any infestations of anything. There were no bugs. I saw no evidence of mouse poop or anything like that. And so I didn't have to throw a ton of stuff away. I just had to pack it up and let her go through it in the living room. And fortunately, she got rid of about half of it. But I mean, compared to the other videos in this playlist, look how clean that floor is.
I said look at it!
I am so sorry. I didn't mean to get worked up like that. But I would seriously look at it. It's so much cleaner because the hoard was sitting on top of it and protecting it from dust and dirt and debris. There are some tubs that I didn't go through. There are some of those that are stacked up in the background. Those had been sorted through years ago whenever a family member helped them clean all this up. And so I left those alone, but I did take a peek in a couple of them. And one of the worst things that they hoard is old mail. I originally said in another video that they had thousands of pieces of mail. I think after going through this room and the computer room, they had tens of thousands of pieces of mail. Now, she does have a couple of paper shredders, which I didn't know she had before. And before I found that out, I was just going to buy her a paper shredder. But she could shred boxes of paper every single day, and it would probably take her a month to go through all of it. But that's something that they desperately need to get rid of because it's taking up just a massive amount of space in this house for no reason at all. But she's been doing extremely well in going through old paperwork and shredding them and throwing them away. And I think that once she saw what I was doing and saw the house started clearing up, she got motivated and she just dove in head first and started helping out. And I'm really impressed by that, and I'm really proud of her. I keep saying her because she was the one who I was directly working with because her husband still works. And so he was out of the house for a lot of the time that I was in here. He was in here for a couple days, but he eventually had to go to work. And so I was just going over each of these items with her, cleaning, bringing her another tub. Then she'd go through them. Then I'd bring her another one. One of the things that I know you're going to ask is, what am I doing with all the stuff? About half of it went into the garbage. And then some of the stuff that I put into tubs that we knew we were going to save, I put those in the kitchen as a temporary storage ground. Now, the downside to this is that it made the kitchen inaccessible, at least the back part of the kitchen, because it was absolutely filled with tubs. But once I got that room cleared out, then I could start bringing those tubs back into that original room and restack them and reorganize those so that they at least had a home that wasn't out in the middle of the floor. When I got to the computer room, I could only open up that door about 2 to 4 inches. And in order to gain access to the room, I had to open up the door just like an inch at a time and then reach down behind it and pull out the things that were stopping the door from opening. And the way that happens is, over time, you just start throwing more and more things into that room. And as the pile gets bigger, you care less about how it's stacked. So at the beginning, you're going to find that you've got tubs and boxes and things neatly packed away. But as that shifts and the weight settles, boxes start to fall over. And then you find yourself taking like a jacket that you don't wear anymore and just throwing it in the room. And then it becomes a pile rather than a stack. Well, over time, the weight of that pile shifts and the whole hoard falls over all at once. And that's what happened here. The hoard fell into the door. So I had to be really careful about how I opened it up so that I wouldn't get injured. Now, this room did have a mouse problem. There were lots of mouse droppings everywhere. It did have a smell to it. I eventually found out where that majority of that smell was coming from. There was a large comforter in the back of the room that had an entire family of dead mice on it. Like they had been there long enough to where they had decomposed and fused to the comforter. So that whole thing ended up going out into the trash. Now, as far as how I know where to start in a room like this, I use the same exact principle for this room that I use on a regular clean or a regular clutter, which is just move something. Take something off the top of the pile and move it so that your goal is actually to make yourself a path so you can get into the room. So even if I'm just taking something off the top of the pile and flinging it over to the right into a new pile, that kickstarts a progress. Then as I'm going down through the giant clutter pile, I can start to match things up, get like objects with like objects. So you'll see me starting a box that I filled with toilet paper, and then I found some soap that was still in the package. And so as I found more bathroom items, that became the bathroom box. As I get further into this room, there will be three main things that I'm sorting, and I had to do it all in black trash bags and tubs. One trash bag would be for yarn because she had a huge amount of yarn and craft supplies. I think I took 4 or 5 40-gallon trash bags of just yarn for her to sort through. The second trash bag would be for actual garbage, and a third trash bag was used for old clothing. Now, she did throw away a lot of the clothes. There's also a lot of old toys in here, and she threw a lot of that away too because it's not really usable. They don't have kids that young, and that it's not their kids. It's just relatives that used to come over years ago. At one point, there was a fire in one of these rooms, and so a lot of the clothing smelled like a fireplace, and they got rid of a lot of that clothing too. I found a large herd of giraffes in here, and I just fed them all carrots and sent them on their way. There were like 6 of them. I named them. There was Poppy, Gerardo, Sir Giraffes-a-Lot, Corky Smoothneck, Funkotron 5000, and Frank. The last one didn't have a name because he was a jerk. Screw that dude. But this is the room where I found the 1912 wedding photo that was of her grandparents. I found a laptop, their original wedding album that's got the decorative lacy fluffy cover, the one that like all people end up getting with the lacy fluffy covers. I actually found several empty tubs in here, which was great for me because I needed them. You'll see me throwing some stuff out that looks good. So for instance, rolls of paper towels. Those had mouse pee on them. And I've got kind of a rule where if any piece of clothing or even just hard object like a radio or whatever, if it's covered in mouse poop, mouse pee, and or rat poison, it goes. I just don't want to chance hantavirus. I don't want to chance keeping something that is just plain gross. But there weren't that many things that I had to toss. In one original video, I think it may have been in the living room, I tossed a leopard print robe, I think it was. And I didn't know what they were talking about at first because they caught it on video. And then I remembered later that actually was a part of a mouse nest. It had been chewed on and it had a bunch of mouse pee and mouse poop on it. Otherwise, I typically keep that stuff so that they can sort through them. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing the shirt that has the definition of the word joke on it. It's become one of my favorite shirts that we made for our shop. We've got a merch shop. So if you haven't checked it out, we sell t-shirts, mugs, stickers, and all that. This is one of the shirts that we have in there. I just thought it was so funny and sarcastic to just define the word joke and have no other text on there. But we've got all kinds of stuff like that in there, with one with my big stupid face on it. And I think it's got words surrounding it that's something like, they calls it putting his own head on a t-shirt, Johnny back in Milwaukee. We've got the suck it shirt where a person is vacuuming on like a crosswalk type of sign. And then our best seller is, oh, hey, look, more dishes, with a like dishes icon sort of thing on it. But anyway, if you want to buy stuff like that to help support the channel, I will have a link to that in the description, as well as a link to our members only section where you can get an additional video per week. Sometimes I do pop-up lives on there. I'll post pictures and just random notes and updates. It's $4.99 a month. So if you can't afford something like that, please, for the love of God, don't do it. We're doing great financially. We're doing just fine. We don't need the extra money. It's just a way to help financially support doing things like this for free. So suck it. Oh, one more thing while I'm going all infomercial right in your face hole. We are nearing 250,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you will do it immediately. I'm sorry. You please do it. Please do that thing, please. Because at first I wasn't even sure we were going to get 250 subscribers, let alone 250,000. I mean, come on, son. But you can guarantee that once that sucker ticks over to 250,000, I am going to be one happy backflipping, spin kicking, elbow dropping fool. All right, I'll stop doing. Well, I was going to say I'm going to stop doing the shameless plug thing now, but then I realized it's my channel. I'll do what I want. I do what I want. I'm an adult. Now, some things that I wanted to do in here, but I didn't have time for, because I'm telling you, after these 2 rooms, I was as tired as I've ever been. And at one point in my life, I was a roofer. Yeah, I said roof, but I was just absolutely exhausted. But I wanted to get all the stuff off of their computer desks and wipe those down, reorganize the little knick-knack paddywhacks that are on there, and set it up to where they could actually access their computer desks and it would be comfortable and not cluttered. You'll see how bad they are whenever I get a back out shot. I mean, both of these rooms, one of the reasons these angles are so terrible is because the rooms were so full, I couldn't even fit the tripod to my camera in there. So I just had to clear out a section and then move the tripod closer and then just keep continuing that process until I got the whole camera into the room. But yeah, whenever you see the wide shot of the room, you'll see how cluttered everything still is even after I'm done taking things out of it. I would have also liked to have gone back and, like I'd mentioned before, do all the dusting and wood polishing and just continue to throw things away until the house became livable again. But I could have spent, no joke and no exaggeration, I could have spent probably another month in here cleaning every single day until the whole house was completely done. And we would have had to have ordered at least one more dumpster, if not two. But if I can ever go back and continue this job, I'd like to get it at least cleared out enough to where the giraffes can come back in, except the unnamed one, because screw that guy. And then maybe tackle the closets so they could actually use those for storage rather than out in the middle of the room. Because the goal would be, if you can store stuff in your closet, fine. But if it starts to come out into the room, it's too much. Especially since they have two fairly large closets. And I think that would be a good measure of whether or not they're getting back into the disorder or not. I mean, they're always going to be in the disorder, but they can control the level of the hoard by using the closet as a measuring device. We can store everything in the closet, but if it starts to creep out into the room, it's time to sort through some stuff and throw things away. A fairly large update for the channel. We are now getting to the point to where we're going to start traveling for these cleanups. Please don't try to contact me just yet, because the places that we're traveling to right now or coming up in the near future are going to be about 90 miles away, and they're going to be in my state, which is Illinois. I live in South Central Illinois, so I'm nowhere near Chicago, nowhere near St. Louis. I'm nowhere near any major city at all. But we're going to be traveling about 90 miles from here to help out some people who are in a pretty dire situation, like a potentially lose their house situation. And then after that, we're just going to continue traveling to different places and then eventually different states and just start going across the country and helping people out. That is going to get extremely expensive, because the only way we can make that work is to stay in hotels or to buy an RV, and I'm not buying an RV. It's going to have to be hotels. So all I'm asking, I'm not asking for money or anything like that. Please don't feel the need to do that. What I'm asking is to be a little bit patient in when and where I upload the videos. So sometimes I'll be able to upload small ones to TikTok, but most of the time YouTube gets the videos first. This is my home. TikTok is just an extra thing that I do. But it also means that if I'm at a house for, let's say, 4 days and I'm having to stay in a hotel 3 of those days, then the video editing and processing and narrating is going to have to wait until I get back home so that I can use a computer that can handle processing this type of video. It takes a pretty big beast to handle it, if you know what I mean. Hi-oh! I actually don't know what I mean there. When I do come to your state, and whenever I do start traveling subscribing, I will announce that here in probably a video, but most often it'll be in the community section. If you've ever wondered where if I take a break for a weekend, which is an extreme rarity for me, and you wonder where I've been, or you wonder if there are any updates to videos, I always post about those things in the community section. So that's one of the upsides to subscribing, is that you'll see my community posts and news updates pop up on your feed. But yeah, anyway, I will announce that stuff in the community section and likely in a video, and it'll be like, hey, I'm coming to Wisconsin. Here's the town I'm going to be staying at. If you're anywhere near there, just give me a holler, send me an email or whatever, and we'll try to set something up. It'll be a little difficult and probably a little gangly at first and awkward, but it'll be fun. And then I'll come and clean your house right in the face, son. I don't even care. Call me House Face Cleaning Johnny back in Phoenix. Like, yo, man, is that old House Face Cleaning Johnny? I don't know. Let's draw some eyes on our door and see what happens. I bet he cleans them. Anyway, members, I will see you on Wednesday. Everybody else, I will see you next weekend. Later.